India is a difficult place, and sometimes the reaction can be to run away, to reject it. It took me 8 years to come back to this country.
Meet Vincenzo Condorelli, a world-renowned filmmaker who spent the last 7 years working in India. He's collaborated with Netflix and stars like Aamir Khan. Vincenzo shared what foreigners often misunderstand about arranged marriages in India, what life is really like in rural areas, and the best way for foreigners to adapt to the Indian lifestyle. I'm Chernov, your insider to Expat Life. Ciao!
What do you think people don't understand about India? People like in the West, they don't get about the country.
I think we, especially the Westerners, especially some Westerners, it's very difficult for us to get rid of prejudice. Even when we think we're the most open-minded, most accepting, we're not, and we tend to judge consciously, unconsciously, 50-50, but we tend to judge by adopting our categories, by adopting our standards. And it happens a lot, it still happens very much, it happens in the media. I think there is a difference between understanding and judging. I try to understand, I don't try to judge. I don't want to judge this country, I try to understand. And in order to do that, you have to keep an open mind. For instance, the caste system, it is a big issue in this society, it has been. But if I may say something a bit paradoxical, I don't know people in Italy, I don't know many interclass marriages in Italy. Usually working class marry with working class, middle class marries with middle class, upper class.
That's actually very true. I never thought about it.
But
It's in Russia the same. In most of the countries I think it's the same. It's like natural, but in India it's called like caste system.
Yeah, of course, I'm a bit. This is a bit of a provocation on my side. Of course, there's more to discuss, but sometimes we think, we're so distant, we're so better, Wait a second, the issues are the same, then different society, cope with them with their own ways, but at the core, things are not that different. We should try to understand, that's what I'm saying, not give fast judgment, not to pretend that the entire world has to behave like we do.
For the typical Westerner, I'm generalizing also, there is no like Westerner, but for let's say Italian or European, like what would be the way to try to understand India and how to, maybe any advice for foreigners, how to overcome these prejudices?
You have to be open to the differences. If you are a person that is open to the differences, it doesn't matter whether you're sitting in your couch at home, never left your country, or you are a traveler. If you are open to differences, then you can adapt and you can accept the other. If you're not, you will not adapt and you will not accept the others. India is a difficult place because it faces you with very strong smell. You mentioned very strong colors. Grey doesn't exist, I always say, when I'm on a car, when I'm with my driver in Bombay, I never get bored by watching, because every second is a different painting. There's something happening. It's better than any movie. It gives you a lot, and I understand what I'm trying to say. I can understand that it overcharges you with things, India, and sometimes the reaction can be to run away, to reject it. It took me 8 years to come back to this country since the very first time I came, back in 2005. So it is challenging. This country is infinite, so there's a lot to learn, to see, and to experience.
What do you think Europe can learn, or the Western world can learn from India and Indians?
I think Europe should be more open in the positive way. I find it ridiculous, for instance, that it's so difficult to get a visa, but then it's so easy to be clandestine. Why? Make it a bit more difficult to be clandestine, a bit more difficult, not too much, and a bit easier to get a visa for people who want to travel. This is absurd. I find it in the European Union, it's madness. And I know something about it because I deal with, sometimes I bring my clients to shoot in Italy, and they have to apply for it. We shoot commercial campaigns when we need that kind of landscapes. And we have the visa process. I have to say, I have to praise the Italian consulate here in Bombay, they're very supportive. But in general, it's difficult for Indians to get visa to go to Europe. So why are you encouraging them to go clandestine? Having said that, the West is already taking a lot from India, and India takes a lot from the West. I mean, think about yoga. how practitioner is in the US. Then of course we should practice yoga by understanding a bit more. It's not just a workout. Yoga is a bit more than that. But see New Age. New Age is a sort of all those New Age, therapies, they're all a sort of watered down Indians Hindu practice and beliefs. So I think there is a lot of exchange already happening. I think all the graduates that go from India, then they work in the US, especially in the US more than in Europe. They are all at very high positions in corporations, in research, in science. I think the exchange is already happening. We should be more aware of it.
So you have experience living in Mumbai and Goa. Can you compare?
Shooting movies is a very privileged point of view in order to understand the society. Because first of all, I shot everywhere. I shot a movie in Kashmir, I shot a movie in Punjab, I shot in Rajasthan, Kerala, Nagaland. I also shot in Nagaland, in northeast, very remote area. And give you this example, when I'm in Punjab, we are looking for a village, we see 200 villages, to find that village that we're gonna use.
Yeah.
And it's just like, stop the car and check this house.
Nice.
It was like that. So you really see a lot. You have the opportunity to understand. Besides, I work mostly and only with Indians.
Yeah.
I don't have other expats working with me. My team, which is usually a team of 20, 25, 30 people, they're all Indians. And they're like a family for me. I spend 13, 14 hours, when I'm on set, 13, 14 hours every day for 3-4 months. So I really get familiar with their way of doing things at any level, from the professional to the personal life. In this framework, Goa is a bubble. It's very different from the rest of India, from the life of. Even though it's become now very, popular with Indians themselves. Before COVID, it wasn't like this.
Yeah. You can feel it actually. You can see much more Indian faces on the streets, on touristic areas than like Caucasians or like Orientals.
Yeah, it has. These also changed after COVID. Because it wasn't like this before COVID. I mean, Goa has massively changed. Before COVID, there was no home delivery for food. I'm not mentioning any of the Indian company, but there was none. It didn't exist. The concept of home delivery started with COVID. The two biggest players, Indian companies that do that, they arrived here during COVID. Also, the domestic tourists arrived here during COVID for the simple reason that they couldn't go anywhere else, the Indians. So they started to come massively to Goa. So Goa has become, from a sort of, that kind of vibes like Bali, like Ibiza, but this in India, Mexico, also a hangout for expats, digital nomads. It has become more of a middle-class destination now for the Indians. Yeah. And it's expanding middle class very much. So now, for instance, the food experience, you have restaurants like this, and Indians come and they experience different kind of food. Families, you see the families, they come and so, it's not the Goa trance scene that it was in the 90s or in the 2000s. It's still there, but it's not predominant. Yeah. Predominantly, I would say now it's become this middle class destination. Yeah. Or domestic destination. At the same time, you also have upper middle class that is moving here, especially from Bombay and from Delhi. People who have, again, experienced the fact of working at home, smart working, or make a different decision in life, start investments here. That is happening a lot also. So you have this kind of higher income people who, especially in the north, get new houses, new villas, or refurbishing the typical Portuguese houses that are the typical houses of Goa. That also is happening a lot. Yeah. It's probably making it a bit difficult for the locals. Prices are on the rise, Airbnb, the typical thing of gentrifications are happening here.
Do you have close Indian friends?
Yes. Yes. I'm not that kind of expat that hangs out only with expats, and not even partially with expats. Here in Goa it's a bit different because there are more expats, say, as You see, there are not that many expats in India, if you think. Bombay, a big town like that, 20, 22 million, is not a huge expat community like, say, Shanghai. In Bollywood itself, I don't think we are that many foreigners that work and live here. So it's quite domestic. But in any case, I have many Indian friends, and actually I mostly hang out with Indians.
Yeah.
I also had relationships with Indians.
Yeah. So the values are quite similar for you as a European and Indians that you have friends with?
Well, I have to say, as Italian, yes. As a European,
it depends. Yeah.
It depends. The common roots are there. I believe in the whole history of Indo-Europeans, and it's quite. There are words that are similar. If you take Italian words with the Hindi words are very similar. But in general, as Italian, yes, I feel. Sometimes they say that the Indians are the Italians of Asia. I don't know about that. But we have a lot of similarities. We have the same sense of humor, same way of doing things, same way of living the interpersonal relations. Of course, family, everybody says, obsession with food. So all these things are quite similar. But I would say that in general, Indians are they make you feel at home. Like they have this quality. Also as Italian, I know of a colleague of mine coming from Northern Europe, and he had a terrible time also to adapt. I have that flexibility that maybe Northern Europeans struggle a bit more with things. Yeah. I can absolutely adapt. Yeah. The sense of time for me is like very close to Indians. Like I can be 20 minutes. Actually, I managed to be later than the Indians, which is something I take very much pride of because it's difficult, but I do, and I'm so happy nobody gets mad at me here.
Speaking of sense of humor, what are the things that Indians find funny, or what do you laugh at?
I don't know what they find funny. What I find funny, everything. I'm always laughing. There is a great sense of humor in this country, sometimes unintentional, but very often intentional. Indians have a great sense of humor. Sometimes you see it in the signs. They do funny signs to give him, I don't know, things that would be dull and boring in other countries. They find a way to make it fun and entertaining. The Indians have a great sense of humor.
Generally, what are the jokes about, let's say? In different parts of the world, there are different kind of things that people find funny. I'm pretty sure as a filmmaker, you're an observer.
Yeah, but I better not say. I can tell you about Italy. We make fun. Yeah. Usually in Italy, you always have a joke. There is an Italian, a French, and an Englishman. Yeah. Or there is an Italian, a French, and a German.
Enter the bar.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have to guess in the comments. What are the things that you don't want to mention?
All right. And I will read the comments.
As a filmmaker, you've seen many things in India. How the villages, how people live, how different people live. What's the biggest findings for you, or revelations for you?
For instance, the sense of acceptance. Even when you are facing a very extreme, because this is a country of contradiction, you will find the most incredible luxury that you don't find in Europe. I remember I just said I was shooting, so I was in a big hotel. And I had these guys checking my bed every 2 hours. He would come in the room and say, "Can I check your bed, sir?" I said, "Please, I'm fine. I'm good." Now of course, the extreme poverty, but even in that context of that extreme poverty, there is a sense of, I don't know if I can say acceptance. There is a sense you will not see desperation. You will not see desperate people most of the time. Then, of course, desperation is everywhere, despair. You will see people who smile. People smile in this country, And that is a great lesson, to accept life and to smile at life and to feel the blessing of every day. Every day is a blessing. This is true in all society, and you feel it very strongly. That's a great teaching that I got from India. I remember once, it's an episode that matters to me. I always tell these episodes. I was in a village, and and I was for a recce, location scouting, and then I started walking on my own, and I ended up at the end of this village in Punjab, and there was this guy under a tree. I realized he was there waiting to die. Basically, he was terminally ill. Alone, very, very skinny, and I look at him, he looked me back, and I don't know, I just felt peace. I wasn't in a bad space. I felt he gave me this sense of peace. We didn't exchange any work. We looked at each other, and then I left, and I never forgot him. Never. And this for me is India. It's this peace that I felt in the most awkward or unexpected situation. I didn't come here like a typical Westerner, looking for spirituality on a train, but it comes to you. It gets you. It's part of this land. There's no. I don't think if you live here long enough, it starts changing your life. Here I became a yoga practitioner. I practice yoga every day. I think India's changed my life in a positive way, not just for the material side of it, that I have a job that I like, and some would consider it a privileged job. I don't know if it's a privileged job, but for sure I have the privilege of working with something that I like. So that is something, maybe it's the most important thing in life. But besides that, this is a country that can give you a lot in the most unexpected ways.
Do you remember your first impressions of India when you just arrived, like first time?
I think that the first impression of India was a shock. I can't tell. It was a shock because my first impact was Bombay or Mumbai back then, 20 years ago. The scale of the place and the different lifestyle, where it's a mega town. I think it's typical of Asia, not only of India. These huge, big towns. Me coming from Italy, it was a huge difference. Actually from London, but it was a huge difference in terms of lifestyle. Like you say, I was shocked for the fact that I couldn't walk. Like in Bombay, you don't walk usually from place to place. You go by drive or you go by car. For me, that was a shock. 20 years ago, it was a shock.
Yeah, I remember my first time in Mumbai. So actually, I started coming to India not long ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And first place was Mumbai. So far, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, and Goa. And I already lived in Asia. I traveled to like Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam. So I know Asia. But coming first time to India, it's like, wow, what's going on? And especially Mumbai, it's crazy, insane. Traffic and the noise and the smell, people. So if you're not prepared, and I imagine like if you come from, let's say, Western world, like Europe and US, and never been to Asia, it's like mind-blowing.
Yeah, in fact, it's interesting that you're saying this because it was my first time in Asia. I mean, I had been in Thailand, I had been in Vietnam.
Yeah.
To be fair, a few years before, very different environment, especially Vietnam. In 2001, I went.
Yeah.
Imagine, it was.
Was it already quite developed?
It was opening, but very much everything controlled by, of course, by the party state.
Okay.
Or state party, sorry, you say in English. But it was my big impact with India, with Asia. And also, I think Bombay is very peculiar. It's not Delhi. Delhi has a feeling, especially the center, a bit more of a European capital. But Bombay is Bombay. Mumbai is unique. As a place, I always say, Bombay is not beautiful as a place, but it has its charm. It's unique.
Yeah.
It has something that really fascinates you, and I don't know how to define it. The people, the vibes, the energy. This is Bombay. That the first time can be an impact. But I always say Bombay is India, intermediate India, I would say.
Why?
I say if you take Goa, if you take Indian studies, Goa is India for beginners. Bombay is intermediate, and then you go advanced studies like Varanasi. This place becomes, you graduate there. That's how I see it. So it was a bit of a shock. In fact, it took me 7 years to go back.
Why do you think people in India, they are so into the big celebrities, the big movie stars? It's like a cult. Feels like it. I don't know, maybe it's not true.
It's true. I think it was also stronger before. It's a good question. I don't have a definite answer for this. Of course, there is I wouldn't say escapist, but there is a dimension of, dreaming about the life of these celebrities and the lifestyle. It's part of the star system, but I think you need a star system to make the system work. You need the stars. So I don't think there would be Bollywood without stars. And there wouldn't be cinema without stars in this country. The love of cinema is an old affair that Indians have, because they started to do cinema 120 years ago. It's not like Korea. Korea is recent. But India has always had an industry. I think maybe it's because you see Indians, they have art forms where they're figurative in a way. Their painting represents bodies, represents action. So I think there is that. That is a factor. There is a familiarity with, a bit like the way it is for, say, Europe. There is a familiarity with figurative arts, with representation, story represented through images. For instance, the Muslims, they don't do that. They don't represent. They do beautiful things like with the writings or the decorations, but they don't have a tradition of figurative storytelling. So maybe that is the reason. I don't know. But yeah, what I know for sure is that you need the stars to make the system work. I had great experience with all the big actors and actresses that I work with. Love them. Very excellent experience.
Who are the biggest ones that you work with?
Well, I guess Aamir Khan is a perfectionist and a very kind person at any level. I have great memories with him. And it's interesting also, if I may say, I don't want to go into politics or religion or these things, but, he's a Muslim, but I remember he was telling me, when he was talking to me at his house during a dinner, he was explaining to me about India, and he used this expression. He was saying, our Shiva, our Krishna, and that it stayed in my head. I said, how beautiful is that? Because India is like that, It's one identity makes of many different religions, ideas, traditions, but they are all Indians and all proud of being Indians. And so he was explaining me things.
During my first visit in Mumbai, in India, I briefly interviewed this girl from the slums. So the French guy who actually support few children in the slums, he gave me a tour there. And so I met this girl. She's 16 or 17. She's in a college. And I asked her is she believe in any God? And she said, yeah, I believe in God, but any God. So she pray as a Hindu, but also she can go to mosque. She's
That doesn't surprise me at all. I remember when I was shooting somewhere, I was doing the location scouting, the recce for Cobalt Blue. So we were Christmas time in Kerala. There is a presence of Catholics, of different branches of Catholics together, and I went to mass. I went to mass with a line producer from Punjab. So I think he was sick, and he took me to church, and he knew the entire mass. I was shocked. More than me, I don't know in English the mass. He knew all the prayers. I said, "Are you serious?" So you see, that confirms a bit what you were saying. In terms of there is here in Goa, there is a church where you have the cross. I don't know, I've seen it not far from here. And in the center of the cross, there is the Om sign.
It's all interconnected. Speaking about the film industry here, so you work with Netflix, and Netflix, what's the interest of Netflix to be in India?
The numbers, the market is gigantic. This is a gigantic market. So that's their main interest. You have to think it's 1,400,000,000 people and growing. And the interesting numbers, if you talk of cinema, that is still very, very popular, going to theater here, you have to think that 90% of the incomes are made by the domestic, by what is called Bollywood or the regional cinemas, by the domestic industry. That means Hollywood only does 10% in India, which is a very low number. That means that there is a very strong domestic industry. The market is very, very, how to say, tempting. So I think Netflix has that main interest, like Amazon or like others, Disney.
What are the biggest topics like of movies, of cinema that people are into in India? What do you want to see?
There has been a change in the sense that cinema from the south, so-called regional cinema like Tamil coming from Chennai, this kind of is becoming stronger and more successful nationwide, almost than Bollywood. Well, Bollywood, what is Bollywood? Bollywood basically is the industry based in Bombay that shoots in Hindi language. But don't forget that Hindi is not spoken in the entire country. In the south, nobody speaks Hindi. Like Hindi is spoken by 60% of the population. So usually the Bollywood movies would be dubbed in the south. Now this south cinema that was shot in Tamil is happening now these days, these years, is happening the opposite. The Tamil movies shot in Tamil in the south are becoming nationwide successful, and they get dubbed in Hindi.
Yes.
So it's the opposite.
Yeah.
They get dubbed in Hindi as before Hindi would be dubbed in Tamil. And they are entertaining. People want to see in theaters, they want to have the theater experience. And maybe the difference from the past is that they will not just go, before Indians would go to the cinema and watch everything. Now they want the experience. They are more, I think they've become more picky in a way. And even because for a family it's expensive, but it's also the main activity that they do in the weekend. Go to the cinema. There is not much left to do. In big towns like Bombay, what do you want to do with your family?
It's like me growing up in Russia in the 90s. I remember the Bollywood movies. That was a big thing in Russia.
I know, Jimmy also.
Jimmy, yeah, Acha. That's it's engraved in me. So the topic of love and dating and then falling in love with someone, that was the main thing around the cinema.
It still is, it's a very huge market, therefore there are many different targets. Of course, those are the topics that are universal, but action, also entertainment, pure entertainment, usually topics that comes from Indian mythology, so there is also a sense of identity that is becoming stronger and stronger, the topics come from mythology and then they get reinterpreted. For instance, there was a movie very interesting, sci-fi, but based on Indian mythology.
Nice.
So a reinterpretation of that. I was recently in Saudi Arabia for the film festival that is becoming very big, the Red Sea Film Festival. And there were many, many big Bollywood stars invited there. And I was shocked to see how popular they are. There were people from Morocco, they're fans from Morocco, from Pakistan, from Turkey, from so many different places that they love the Bollywood stars, or say the Indian stars. And it's interesting, guys, as a Westerner, because we always think Hollywood. But actually Bollywood is also international, it's not just national. It also has this strong following abroad.
As a filmmaker, why do you think for you, your career, your creative process is better to be in India versus than in Europe?
I think that the most interesting things are now, culturally speaking, and not only culturally maybe, are happening in the East. I think in the West, we had our time. Now we don't have much to say, to be honest, left. We said everything that we had to say. And I think in the East, with all the contradictions, the mess, the problems, here there are more energies. Sometimes when I'm in Italy, I think, oh my God, I'm in a zombie land. Here you feel people alive, you see? And here people, I saw it, they are hardworking, very hardworking people in the East, in general, in Asia. I can tell you they work like I've never seen. In Italy, my colleagues have no idea. Like my crew, they work 14, 15, 16 hours per day. It's incredible. They get paid, but It's incredible, the amount of work that they can deliver. But in general, I would say that the feeling in the East, in Asia, is that people go to sleep thinking tomorrow is going to be a better day. While in Europe, I'm sorry to say, but it's the truth at the moment, people go to sleep thinking, oh, yesterday was better than what is going to be tomorrow. It's a very general feel.
And you probably can feel it in the air, right?
You can feel it in the air, but listen. Italian average age is 48. Italian's average age is 48. India is like, I think...
Oh, it's very young.
I think that 50% of the population is below 35 years old. 55% and 65, something like this. There are numbers.
I checked recently, it's very young. I was like, wow, surprised. I think the average is between 30 and 40, the average.
35.
It's very young.
So
very
imagine.
Young. Yeah.
I mean, when you start to get old, you start to get a bit bored, a bit like slow, a bit less excited. All of this is part of the bigger equation. Then, of course, don't take me wrong, I'm very happy when I go back to Italy in the summer. What is monsoons? Yeah, I love my country deeply, as I love most countries. But here there are these kind of feelings. You feel something is happening now these days here in Asia.
Yeah, and in India, particularly in India, when you come here, you see the life and you see the scale.
Yeah, the scale is
it's incredible.
But you see, also for me as a director of photography, somebody who works in movies, filmmaker. Now I have a movie that is coming out in theaters. Is a mainstream action movie with big stars. It did 15 million. The teasers on YouTube did 15 million visualization in 8 hours. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Still, these numbers, as a foreigner, as an expat, shocked me and also fascinates me and pleases me, because I do movies so that others can see. So when I have these numbers, I'm the happiest.
What are the most unique places that you shoot in India, or like something that stick to your mind?
Kashmir is considered to be a beautiful region, and it is. No discussion. And the fact that I like everything. I also like very much Kerala. But for sure Kashmir has some stunning mountain landscapes, stunning, extremely beautiful. In fact, I like to shoot everywhere but Bombay. I prefer not to shoot in Bombay. I like to be outside. I like to be on location.
Yeah.
But I would say that I feel particularly at home in Punjab. I like Punjab a lot. The countryside, I love it. It reminds me of Italy somehow. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yes, it reminds me of Italy flatlands, of Pianura Padana, that area. In fact, it's not, I don't know if you know the story, that basically it's Punjabi who saved the Parmesan cheese industry in Italy. It's only Punjabi working now, and they're very good farmers, actually.
Yeah.
It's quite of a story. Yeah, Punjab I like a lot. And then in the center of Amritsar, it reminds me a bit of, you know, these small alleys, people at the balcony. It reminds me a bit of Naples, a bit of Genoa. It has these vibes.
Yeah.
So I like Punjab a lot. Yeah. And the Golden Temple, of course, is one of my favorite places in India.
What you found, how people live in these villages, like how the society is structured, or how people like live their lives?
Very traditionally, in fact, the life in the villages is very different from the life in the towns. In fact, earlier I said, of course, societies, there are many similarities in between us and them, but there's a big difference for sure.
Yeah.
We don't have that rural life anymore in Europe. If you come to Italy, that was a country made of small towns and small villages. Now villages are abandoned, fully abandoned. You will find in Italy so many ghost villages and ghost towns, especially in the inland. So in Italy, there is basically a rush still towards the big towns, as it has happened in India, but still India is a rural country. Most of the population lives in the villages. This is a huge difference, you know, and in villages, crazy thing happens also. Sometimes when you hear about those crazy crimes or some crazy episodes, but you know, can you compare Bombay, say, to a village in, I don't know, I'm saying in Bihar? It's like two different universes in a way. So For what I've seen, village life, yeah, is still very traditional, very essential, and very big part of Indian society yet.
Yeah.
Still.
Traditional also means conservative? Like, because what I'm asking, because some of your movies, they are not like conservative. They are like more, they provoke more liberal thoughts. Like, and especially like your last, is it your last movie from 2022?
Yes, but now we have 3 more coming out. Yes, that is very much, it deals with diversity, sexual diversity also, yes.
And this is also, there is a huge part of like conservatism in India, though you have Kama Sutra and you have movies like yours. How it all match together?
But that's absolutely true. I think it's true of any rural societies. Rural societies are more conservative by definition. I think anywhere in the world. If you go to Ohio in the countryside, I don't know, or in Alabama, scary places, no? I mean, so it's the same in India, but you see, it's a huge population. So I think Netflix, for a movie, my movie Cobalt Blue that you mentioned, is an adaptation of a book written by a Maharashtrian writer, director, and theater screenwriter, dramaturgist. But you know, it's not targeting rural India, to be honest. It's probably targeting the urban middle class of big towns.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like societies that live together side by side. Sometimes they collide, like in Delhi. Delhi is a big town, but it's surrounded by this kind of countryside.
Yeah.
Now Bombay is very different, you see. In a way, also much safer, very safe for women. So I would say, yeah, that movie like those are not the target of rural India. I mean, rural India is not the target of Netflix.
Yeah.
But you see, even if Netflix manages to target Indian middle class, we're talking about 200, 300 million people. It's huge numbers for them.
It's like Italy multiplied by 3, 4.
No, it's like Western Europe.
Yeah.
Actually, probably it's like all Europe,
Yeah.
only the middle class.
Do you have any like big life principles, like overall, that you kind of developed through the years? 1 or 2 very important for you, the principles in life?
I'm very grateful to this country. It gave me a lot. Immense gratitude. I mentioned that spirituality not as a fast food experience, not as a, fashion, but something that really came unexpectedly and therefore even more welcomed. I truly believe that through yoga and through also living in this country, I've become a better person. I'm more, I wouldn't like to say more tolerant. I accept the others, I accept life in a different way than before coming to India, before starting to live here.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say. This is the biggest principle, not to, on a practical level, I don't get as mad as I used to be, when things are not working, because very often are not working.
Yeah.
So what's the point? But apart from jokes, it's immense, the change that this country determined in my life. And spiritually, I would say in the deepest and truest sense. I love all the religions. Now, I struggle to be a believer, for instance, but I see beauty in every religion. I was in Moscow this summer. I entered the church of St. Basilio. Oh my God, I was like completely fascinated. I happened to be in a mosque, and again, I was like really impressed. Every aspect of his spirituality, every way spirituality gets expressed, I have great respect for and great admiration and attraction.
Yeah.
And this came by living in this country.
Yeah, and interesting that you mentioned before, so you were not looking for it, but it
No,
found you.
No. I had always a very materialistic life. Also, if you want to say, you work in movies, you live in a town like Bombay, Bombay. It's very secular, you can have a lot of fun, parties, nightlife, all of this was very accessible. But then besides this and beyond this, you find something else.
Yeah.
At least this was my experience.
What's the meaning of life for you?
The meaning of life is, I think, it's a research. It's the search for a meaning of life. That's the meaning of life. You know, in yoga, you say the yoga is a journey of the self through the self to the self. And maybe that can apply to life. So I would say life is the meaning is the search for the meaning.